For years now, I've been getting comments that have been like, Frank, start a Discord server for your channel. Now, if you're old like me and you don't know what Discord really is, it's kind of like a chat room. It's got text and voice chat. That's kind of cool. So now I am pleased to announce that there is now, as of today, an official FJ channel server on the Discord.
Frank, how do I join the Discord? Come on, man.
To join the official FJ Discord server, just become a member of the channel at any level. Memberships start at $4.99 a month. $4.99? Are you out of your mind? Membership also comes with some cool perks, like you get like a badge next to your name, and you can use emojis in the comments of my videos that have my face in it. But the Discord's the main draw there. If you like Discord, you really want to be on a Discord for the channel, that's how you do it. To become a channel member, make sure you're subscribed first of all, and then hit the join button. But of course, whether you are an official member or not, all of you watching feel like members of the channel to me. And now to the subject of the video. Why do the 16 personality types stay single? How are they shooting themselves in the foot? Y'all don't even realize what you're doing. You're like, oh, why am I single? Why is it so hard?
I'm about to tell you.
Buckle up, buttercup. You ain't gonna like it. ESTPs, they can be charming on the exterior, but a little critical when it comes to things that they have opinions on. And you might come to find they have opinions on a lot of different things. So there's this sudden switch from being smooth and suave to hyper serious and critical. And that can be a big negative for people who don't like to be criticized, which happens to be most people. It turns off your potential suitors, man. A lot of times ESTPs don't even realize they are switching into this more thinking focused mode, and it can be a little confusing to them when suddenly other people are put off by their remarks. Because I think generally people are attracted to ESTPs overall because they're so cool and they generally have that suave nature about them. But imagine talking to your ESTP crush and you bring up an idea that you're interested in and they say back to you, well, that's not a very good idea. What about this other thing? It feels dismissive. ESTPs aren't like setting out to hurt anyone's feelings or be overly critical. They just want to offer constructive feedback. So guys, players, you need to learn how to reel in that sometimes abrasive side of you. ESFPs stay single because they need a partner who can keep up with them. Let's get real, not a lot of people can keep up with ESFPs. Now I know right now you're like, that's not surprising, Frank. Well, listen up, player. Yeah, of course, ESFPs, they want to live life to the fullest. They want to have so many different experiences, and for them, being with a person who doesn't have that same passion for life can make the ESFP leave them in the dust. And it isn't even necessarily that the ESFP wants to do this or realizes that they are doing this. They just find themselves moving so quickly through their life that potential partners can't even keep track of where they are and what they're up to. It's like the first 5 parties you went to were fun, but then the ESFP wants to go to another 5 parties and you're like burnt out. You're like, after party? I thought this was the after party. So here's the thing, I don't think you ESFPs are necessarily realizing is happening. You're creating a barrier to entry that prevents people who are interested in you from even asking you out in the first place because they are intimidated that your lifestyle is just too much. So you got 2 options here. Slow down a little bit and take a look around you and see, oh, maybe, you know, these people could hang with me if I just like didn't do as much stuff, or just keep living your life, do your thing, and accept that you're gonna be single until someone can hang with you. And it might be a while, but that's okay. ISTJs have like the opposite struggle of ESFPs. They can be a little too careful with their approach to life. It's almost like you guys have an internal checklist of all the things that you know you generally want in a partner. You know, they're like, oh, I want someone who's clean, organized, supportive, etc. Or maybe it's something else. Whatever an ISTJ wants in their relationship, in their potential partner, it's likely very specific and they've thought about it for a long time. Just like this hand motion I'm doing. For many ISTJs, there is a fear of getting out of this comfort zone, and these limiters can really prevent them from giving potential partners with interesting differences a chance. Because I think it's kind of unlikely that ISTJs will be like, I want a partner who really like does things totally different from me. The ISTJs don't want to feel like their boat is gonna get rocked too much by a relationship. So guys, ISTJs, it's okay to have a few must-haves for a relationship, but once you get get too many of those, and the more like weirdly specific they get, then it's more like you're trying to factory order a perfect partner instead of a real person. And these expectations you have can keep you from even going on a date and ultimately keep you single, like the title of the video. ISFJs, you guys are really nice and accommodating, right? But the trade-off is a lot of times you guys aren't as assertive as you need to be in the dating world. And maybe you move a little too slow. I'm not saying you need to like jump headfirst into things like you're an ENFP, but you could go a little faster. So if an ISFJ likes someone, they may want to take things very slowly or really get to know someone as a friend before even considering dating them. That's all well and good, but you're adding considerable time to your dating timeline here, and you're putting yourself at risk to get friend zoned. Watch out for the friend zone! This leisurely pace that you take to dating can be a negative for many people because a lot of people just like to jump into dating to see if they can make something work. A lot of people are like, hey, we can build a friendship and a romantic relationship at the same time. One doesn't have to come before the other. Now, this isn't to say that you ISFJs just need to deal with it and take what you can get, but realize that this slow approach can create barriers that makes others feel like they have to put in a ton of effort for what they consider to be the relationship basics. The other really ironic thing is, okay, you have your crush, you've become friends with them, and now you get worried that if I ask them out, I'm gonna ruin the friendship. Or maybe you have an existing friend and you're like, I'd really like to ask them out, but you guys are so aware of the social dynamics that you're like, this could really rock the boat, this could really make some awkwardness in the friend group, so I'll just stay on the sideline. If you don't want to be single no more, ISFJs, you got to take a couple more steps a bit sooner. Just ask someone out. One thing you ESTJs don't struggle with is trying. You guys will happily introduce yourselves to another person you're attracted to and almost immediately start vetting them to see if they're worth your time. That's admirable, to be honest. A lot of us wish we could do that, but not me anymore, obviously, a married man. The problem is you take this too far, it can get to the point where it feels like it's a bit too demanding or blunt in your approach. The checklist approach to dating can scare away people who don't see relationships through such a practical lens. So like imagine sitting down with someone, imagine you're sitting down with your ESTJ crush and they just start saying, so what do you do for work? How much do you make? Are you good at time management? Are you organized? A whole array of practical questions. Where do you want to live? How many kids do you want? Blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Do you have a Roth IRA? Do you have any Series I treasury bonds? It's like, Frank, what are we talking about? This very systematic approach to dating can keep the ESTJ single until they come across someone who can meet all their expectations. And the kicker is you might be scaring away people who could meet those expectations just because you come in so forcefully with them. ENTJs have a vision for what they want their relationship to be like, and they aren't afraid to tell everyone what that is. It's sort of similar to the ESTJ. They're all focused on, here's what we want to do, here's what we want to get done, the end result we want, let's get going. ENTJs are also kind of likely to be married to their work. They're very career oriented, and sometimes that can make potential suitors, people who might have a crush on you, who might want to date you, feel like there's no time for me to fit into this person's life. ENTJs are also often interested in finding a power couple type of relationship, one where both people are as successful as possible in their careers. This further narrows down the potential pool of partners. So sometimes the ENTJs are basically like, well, there's no one out there who meets the qualifications for someone that I want to date. And maybe in the past, because you felt that way, you just dated losers and you're like, oh crap, now I can't find the right person for me. Basically, to ENTJs, a relationship has to be worth their time, and this mindset can scare away a lot of potential partners because they're like, I gotta put in a lot of effort if I'm gonna make it worth this person's time. ESFJs, I think what keeps you guys single is that you're very in tune with what makes other people happy, and as such, you've been studying the relationships that you have seen in your life that are successful. Maybe it's your parents, your grandparents, your brother, whatever. So whether you realize it or not, you're kind of looking at these relationships and filing away all of the things that they are doing that may or may not be contributing to them being successful. And basically you're like, well, my mom and dad are happy because because they do XYZ, they live here, whatever. Okay, so now I have created what the perfect relationship looks like in my mind. This causes an issue where you're filtering out possible people that you could date because it doesn't really line up with what you have seen already in successful relationships. And these can be very specific things in the sensor that you're looking for that don't even necessarily have any bearing on whether you're happy in a relationship or not. Like, does it really matter if you live in the city or the suburbs? Probably not. But to an ESFJ, they might be like, well, my parents lived in the suburbs, so that's where I've got to meet the right person to have a relationship with. That's just a random example, but it could be anything. This is important for you ESFJs to realize that there are potentials to have happy relationships with a lot of different people, even if it doesn't match exactly what you have seen before. ENFJs, oh, you remain single because you put in 100% effort right from the start. I would even say 110% effort, as opposed to like slowly ramping yourselves up to that point. In the dating advice world, we might call this investment. Too much investment too early. And I'm talking super early. I'm talking not even asked out on a date yet. You know, because ENFJs are long-term planners, they want to make sure that they and their partner, potential future partner, whatever, are happy, and they'll go to great lengths to lay out the future for both themselves and whoever their significant other is. The problem is this level of attachment might be a little too much for a lot of people. The thing is that a lot of people sense this amount of effort that you're putting into it, and they sense how much you care, and they sense the investment, and it reads to them like desperation. If you're talking with your ENFJ crush and they start talking to you about marriage or like what the future would look like with you two 10 years from now, it's gonna be off-putting. Investment. Start off low, match the other person's level of investment. ISTPs, classically, you guys struggle with being closed off to other people. ISTPs don't like to share their emotions easily, and they don't like to put a lot of effort into tailoring their words to make other people happy. You guys just tell it like it is. This leads to a situation where you all need a partner who can handle that rough exterior or has the patience to crack through your emotional shell. It's not an easy task, because if you push an ISTP too much to like open up a bit, they might close themselves off even further. It could even be this ironic thing where it's like you ISTPs are like, why am I single? And it's like people show interest in you, they're trying to get to know you, and you just close off. And I know it's tough because sometimes you open up a little bit, you show a little bit of your vulnerable emotional side, and then if someone doesn't react in quite the right way, not really a way that made you feel good, it's easy to be like, never again. Hashtag never forget. The other thing about ISTPs though is that you probably knew all this. I feel like the IPs are gonna be the hardest to surprise with these things. INTPs, INTPs, I think, whether you realize it or not, they're very sensitive to rejection. So if something goes wrong at any point in any kind of dating situation, like not even on a date, I'm talking about like you like someone and they didn't like talk to you and you thought they would, like something really weird, some kind of perceived slight or rejection, they're gonna take it very hard, and that might cause them to close themselves off from others or stop trying to be involved. And what's really keeping you single here is that ultimately I think INTPs are blaming everyone else for this happening. If someone rejects you, it's easy for an INTP to kind of rationalize it as, well, it's not really anything I did wrong, I did everything right, that person is just a whack job. And at that point it's easy to be like, well, everyone is a whack job. I know it's intimidating and it's not fun for you all to play the social game because it just feels like you keep losing and you're never getting any better at it. But the truth is, you're probably not struggling that much worse than anyone else. It's just you're very sensitive to that rejection or the perceived rejection. For INTPs, you just gotta keep honing those skills. You just gotta keep putting yourself out there. The more reps you get in and the more times you practice kind of handling that rejection and just brushing it off or whatever, the less scary it will get. ISFPs, they struggle with finding a partner because they need someone who can handle them at their most authentic. But from the other person's point of view, this just seems like a lack of compromise. I know, ISFPs, you won't pretend to be someone you're not. Why would I do that? Just to make some dope happy? Just to make them like me? Just so that they'll go out with me? This comes across as you like thinking thinking you're perfect, you're God's gift to everyone else. Like, imagine saying to your ISFP crush, hey, I didn't appreciate it when you said XYZ, and then they're like, hey, that's just who I am, take it or leave it. Now, of course, that's kind of an extreme example that makes ISFPs sound like they're terrible people. I think most ISFPs would not say those exact words, but that would sort of be the meaning behind it. Like, well, what else am I supposed to say? You don't want me to just pretend that I think something else, right? This doesn't mean that you guys need to change who you are. No, it just means you gotta realize that relationships are a two-way street. Sometimes you gotta temper your expression of who you are a bit to accommodate the other people. INFPs, I made a whole video about why you're single. You have the struggle of being shy, romantic dreamers. That's a big part of it. INFPs spend a lot of time imagining what a relationship with their crush would be like, daydreaming about it day in and day out. Might not even be a real crush, might just be someone they made up. The problem is, you guys a lot of times aren't the ones who take the first step or even show interest, so you'll sit in a corner and fantasize about your crush. Meanwhile, they're like, I didn't even have a clue they felt that way. You can't daydream a relationship into existence, unfortunately. So it's a matter of putting yourself out there and learning to overcome that resistance to expressing those feelings. I know, it might not seem like it makes sense. They're INFPs, they're feelers. Shouldn't they feel great about expressing their feelings? Well, it's introverted feeling. It feels a little bit weird. It feels like they're exposing themselves a lot to bring that out. But you gotta do it or you'll stay single forever. ENTPs are always up to something new, a project, an idea they have. There's just a random interest they decided to obsess over. They rapidly switch interests so much that it can keep people from approaching them because the ENTP may not be around long enough to develop a relationship. Say, for example, the ENTP picks up coding, you know, a little JavaScript, a little Python, if you will. So they join a coding group and they meet someone who they start talking to, and that person, you know, maybe there's some romantic potential there. But then a week later, the ENTP gets interested in studying philosophy, and so they drop coding, and the person they met earlier may not have had time to even get to know the ENTP because they were so fast to go to the next thing. It can be hard for you guys, I know, to recognize other people's interest in you or to show interest yourself in those shorter time frames. So you've either gotta expand the time frames or, you know, pick up a little bit more of what other people are putting down. The problem area for ENFPs is that they can like a lot of different things, including a lot of different people. And you guys, I know, you don't like to be anchored down. ENFPs, you can have commitment struggles, avoiding relationships altogether because you like to keep your options open. This ability to see hundreds of different possibilities, unfortunately, can give you guys a grass is greener on the other side mentality with your romantic life, where you think about all the things that could go bad or limit you if you get too close to someone. You're aware that there might always be a better option a little bit down the road. Maybe we should just wait and see. As such, ENFPs tend to deflect attempts at romantic approaches, specifically with a little bit of comedy. So someone might be, you know, trying to flirt with them a bit, might get a little bit sincere and romantic, and the ENFP will just play it off as a joke. ENFPs, you're gonna stay single unless you start taking this whole thing seriously. INTJs and relationships. Name a more iconic duo, because INTJs are not known for being the best at relationships. INTJs most of the time stay single simply because they don't put in energy or effort into the dating game. INTJs rarely approach people they're interested in, and they're often a bit cold and upfront with their thoughts or feelings, and they're oftentimes focused on other things in life anyway, like their 10-year plan. It's not necessarily that you don't want a relationship, it's just that you don't want to take the time to like integrate it into your life. And what's funny is you're probably like, yeah, I do. Oh man, I try to integrate it so much. Yeah, okay, so the INTJs, you guys will put in the bare minimum for finding a romantic partner and then be like, oh, I'm already burnt out. You'll download a dating app and spend 2 minutes on it and you're like, oh, I'm never doing that again. I mean, imagine how much more of a problem that becomes when you actually actually start dating someone. You know, dating, finding that relationship, it takes time and energy. And those are two things that INTJs do not like to spare. But you're gonna have to learn to do it if you want to be in a relationship. Of all the types, the INFJ is usually the one seeking a perfect partner. To such a degree that even the MBTI manual, yes, the official manual of Myers-Briggs, listed INFJs as being the type most dissatisfied with their long-term relationships because they tend to have an idealized version of their partner in their head. What perfect means will of course vary from INFJ to INFJ, but the struggle is that you guys spend so much time in your mind imagining what a good relationship is like that you forget the reality of potential partners right in front of you. Every person will have upsides and downsides, and you can get way too hung up on how the downsides might impact your future. Like, you could find someone who meets 95% of what you're looking for in a partner, and they might even be showing interest in you, but you're reluctant to be in a relationship with them, not even a relationship, just to give them a shot because you're like, oh, that 5%, that could really trip me up one day. Nope, not falling for that. If you sit around waiting for the perfect partner, you will almost always be disappointed because humans, they're not perfect. But those imperfections are often the things that you'll fall in love with. To give you a little bit of an anecdote from my own life as an INFJ, so I have claimed. You know, I was single for a long time. You see, I'm married now. I didn't find my wife until I was just like, I'm gonna stop trying to limit things down. I'm just gonna pick out like 3 things I absolutely need in a partner, and they're gonna be like general things like a good person, good sense of humor. I don't even know what the third one was. And once I stopped obsessing over every detail and being like, oh no, this could be bad in the long run. 30 years from now, am I really gonna be able to handle if she likes documentaries? Once I got over that crap and focused on things that really matter, that's how your boy found his wife. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay cool and attractive.
They say strangers come to town. They call him